My girlfriend ended our relationship at 1:37 p.m. on a Wednesday with a text that took less than 10 seconds to read. Ethan, I met someone who fits the life I actually want. He sees my potential in a way you never did. I don't want any connection between us after today. Please don't contact me. I read it twice. For a moment, everything around me disappeared. I expected anger. Instead, I felt certainty. Sophie wanted a clean break. So I gave her one. I typed, "Understood, take care." Then I opened my banking app. First, I removed Sophie from my premium Visa. Next went the debit card attached to our secondary expense account. Then I canceled the automatic payment for her $3,900 apartment in downtown Denver. The apartment was leased in my name. So was the pearl white Mercedes GLC she drove. Sophie's credit had been damaged before we met, so when she said she needed a reliable car for client meetings, I signed the lease myself. I called the dealership, removed her as an approved driver, and arranged for the vehicle to be collected the next morning. Then came the smaller things: streaming subscriptions, Pilates membership, meal delivery, her phone plan, a co-working membership she barely used, cancel, remove, and subscription. By 2:20 p.m., Sophie had exactly what she asked for: no financial connection to me. I still had a 3 o'clock client presentation. I walked into it like nothing had happened and closed the contract before 5. For the next 2 days, Sophie said nothing. No angry calls, no accusations. No, "Can we talk?" I assumed the new man she had chosen was paying for everything now. Apparently, she had upgraded. Good for her. Friday morning changed that. I was reviewing numbers at a warehouse outside Boulder when an unfamiliar number called twice. On the third call, I answered. "Mr. Ethan Mercer?" "Yes." "My name is Grant Holloway. I represent Miss Sophie Lang." His tone was polished and aggressive. "I'm contacting you regarding your sudden withdrawal of financial support, transportation, and housing access. My client considers your conduct retaliatory." I almost smiled. "Your client broke up with me," I said. "We're not married. We don't have children. She specifically asked for no connection." "That does not necessarily eliminate your obligations," he replied. "Miss Lang relied on a lifestyle you consistently provided. We are prepared to seek emergency relief unless you restore her access to the accounts, return the vehicle, and continue housing support during a transition period." "How long?" "6 months." I laughed. "She replaced me on Wednesday." "Mr. Mercer, I suggest you take this seriously." "I am. That's why I'm writing all of this down." There was a pause. Then he gave me the real number. "My client would consider resolving the matter privately for $60,000. "Send whatever you think you have in writing," I said. "And make sure you spell Mercer correctly." Then I ended the call.
The moment the call ended, I phoned my attorney. Marcus Reed had represented my company since the first year I started it. He was calm, expensive, and almost impossible to intimidate. I explained everything: the breakup text, the canceled cards, the apartment, the Mercedes, and finally, the $60,000 demand. Marcus was silent for a few seconds. "Ethan, unless you've forgotten to mention a marriage certificate, a child, or a contract promising lifetime support, they have almost nothing." That's what I thought. But keep every message. Don't block her yet. Don't insult her. Don't threaten her. Assume every word you send will eventually be shown to a judge. That evening, Sophie finally texted, "You are unbelievable. My card got declined in front of everyone at lunch." I didn't answer. 10 minutes later, "They took the Mercedes from the parking garage. I had no warning. Do you understand how humiliating that was?" Still nothing. Then, "I have a styling consultation tomorrow and I need transportation. At least let me use the car until this gets sorted out." I screenshotted everything and forwarded it to Marcus. Saturday morning brought the next surprise. My building concierge called. "There's a man downstairs asking to collect Miss Lang's belongings." I checked the lobby camera. He looked about 30. Perfect haircut, designer sneakers, fitted jacket, the kind of guy who seemed permanently prepared for someone to photograph him. I went downstairs. He immediately stepped toward me. "You, Ethan?" "Yes." "I'm Cameron." The name meant nothing until he added, "Sophie's boyfriend." So this was the upgrade. "Congratulations," I said. His expression tightened. "She's been through enough. Just let me upstairs so I can grab her clothes." Sophie can schedule a time and collect her belongings herself. She doesn't want to see you. Then she can bring someone with her, but I'm not letting a stranger wander through my apartment. Cameron laughed. "Man, you're really proving everything she said about you." "What exactly did she say?"
That you controlled her with money, that every gift had strings attached, that you treated her like property. Interesting. I looked at the expensive watch on his wrist. If you believe that, you should probably be happy she escaped. He stared at me. "Look, she chose me because I actually support her dreams." "Perfect. Then supporting her rent shouldn't be a problem." His face changed, just slightly, but I noticed. "I'm building several brands right now," he said. "What kind of brands?" "Digital lifestyle, experiences, creative direction." I waited. He finally added, "I also do social strategy." In other words, unemployed with Wi-Fi. I almost respected the confidence. "Then here's some social strategy," I said. "Leave the property before security removes you." He muttered something under his breath and walked outside. From the lobby windows, I watched him climb into a dented 10-year-old Nissan. That told me more than his entire speech. Monday morning, the story went public. Sophie uploaded a black and white photo of herself sitting beside a window, looking exhausted but carefully photogenic. The caption began, "I never imagined I would have to speak publicly about financial control." She claimed she had spent 3 years trapped in a relationship where money had been used to control her decisions. She wrote that when she finally found the courage to leave, I immediately took away her home, transportation, and access to shared financial resources. Shared. That word was doing heroic work. At the bottom was a donation link. She was raising $40,000 for temporary housing, legal expenses, and rebuilding her independence. Within hours, the post had thousands of likes. Then strangers found my company. 1-star reviews started appearing. Owner abuses women. Do not support this business. Disgusting CEO. By noon, one of my clients forwarded me Sophie's post and asked whether they should be concerned. That was when I stopped treating the situation like a breakup. I called Marcus. She brought my company into it. I saw. What do we do? His answer came instantly. We document everything. Then we let her own words destroy her story.
Marcus prepared a statement that afternoon. No insults, no emotional language, no accusations, just dates, documents, and numbers. At 4:30 p.m., we posted it on my personal LinkedIn page and the company website. Regarding recent public claims made by Ms. Sophie Lang, Ms. Lang ended her relationship with Mr. Ethan Mercer by text message on Wednesday at 1:37 p.m. She specifically requested that all association between them end. Below that was a screenshot of her message, then mine. Understood. Take care. The statement continued. Ms. Lang was never employed by Mr. Mercer or Mercer Industrial Consulting. She had no ownership interest in the company, no contractual right to company funds, and no joint financial accounts with Mr. Mercer. We explained that the apartment lease was solely in my name. The Mercedes lease was solely in my name. The cards she used were authorized user cards attached to accounts I owned. Every payment had been voluntary. Then Marcus added the part that changed everything. A 12-month financial summary. Rent, $46,800. Car payments, insurance and maintenance, $19,400. Travel, $21,700. Restaurants and entertainment, $18,600. Clothing, beauty services, memberships, subscriptions and miscellaneous spending, another $37,000. Total support during the previous year, just over $143,000. Sophie's documented contribution toward those expenses, zero. The internet changed sides faster than I expected. People began reposting her breakup text beside her claim that she had been abandoned without warning. Others noticed that she had asked for no connection before accusing me of cutting financial ties. Her comment section became a war zone. So you left him for another guy but wanted him to keep paying? That isn't financial abuse, that's a breakup. Why is your ex supposed to finance your new relationship? By Tuesday morning, Sophie disabled comments. Then her fundraising page disappeared. Marcus called me around noon. They froze it pending review. Because of our statement? Probably because people reported inconsistencies. I should have felt victorious. Instead, I mostly felt tired. But Cameron apparently felt something else. Panic. That evening, Sophie called me from an unknown number. I didn't answer. Then a text arrived. Please, Ethan, just 5 minutes. I forwarded it to Marcus. He told me not to engage. The next morning, my receptionist called upstairs. There's a woman here asking to see you. I already knew who. Sophie? Yes, she says it's urgent. I looked through the glass wall of my office. Down in the lobby, she barely resembled the woman from her social media pictures. No styled hair, no expensive coat, no makeup that I could see, just jeans, sneakers, and an oversized sweatshirt. Tell her she needs to communicate through her attorney. There was a pause. She says she fired him. That surprised me. Why?
She says she made a mistake and needs to talk to you personally. I leaned back in my chair. Part of me wanted security to send her away immediately. Another part wanted to hear what had changed in less than a week. Send her up. 5 minutes later, Sophie walked into my office. Her eyes were red. She closed the door behind her. Ethan. I said nothing. She started crying. I messed everything up. I stayed behind my desk. Cameron lied to me, she continued. He told me he had investors. He said he was launching an agency. He made it sound like he was about to become huge. And? There is no agency. That almost made me laugh. He lives with 2 roommates. His car is barely running. And yesterday he told me he couldn't keep paying for hotels. So? She stared at me like I was supposed to understand what came next. He thought I had money. There it was. Apparently, Cameron believed the apartment, car, cards, and lifestyle belonged to Sophie. Sophie had believed Cameron was wealthy. They had both chosen each other based on imaginary bank accounts. It was almost beautiful. He left me last night, she whispered. I folded my hands. I'm sorry to hear that. She stepped closer. No, Ethan, you don't understand. I was manipulated. He kept telling me you were controlling me. He said you were holding me back. I started believing him. You sent the breakup text. I know. You hired a lawyer. I was scared. You accused me publicly of abuse. I was angry. You raised money using that story. She looked down. I wasn't thinking clearly. For the first time since she entered, I felt something. Not love. Not anger. Just disbelief. Sophie finally looked up. Can I come home?
Can I come home? The question hung between us. I looked at Sophie for several seconds. You don't have a home with me anymore. Her face collapsed. Ethan, please, I know I made a horrible mistake. I know what I said was cruel, but 3 years can't disappear in 1 week. They didn't disappear in 1 week, I said. They disappeared at 1:37 on Wednesday when you decided someone else was better. I was confused. No, you were confident. She wiped her face. I still love you. I stood. You love the version of your life that existed when you were with me. That's not true. Then tell me what you miss. She opened her mouth. Nothing came out. I continued. Do you miss Sunday mornings with me? The terrible movies we watched? The road trips? The nights I stayed awake helping you prepare for presentations? Yes. Or do you miss the Mercedes? She looked away. The apartment? Silence. The card that never declined? Stop. I'm not trying to hurt you, Sophie. I'm trying to make you understand why this is finished. She suddenly became angry. So that's it? You're just throwing me away? I almost couldn't believe the sentence. You ended the relationship. But you didn't have to destroy my life afterward. I stopped paying for it. Those are not the same thing. Her voice rose. I gave you 3 years, and I gave you 3 years too. You have millions. None of this money even matters to you. There it was, the sentence that finally killed whatever sympathy I still had. It matters because it's mine. She stared at me. You're cold. Maybe, but I'm not confused anymore. She walked around the desk and reached for my hand. I stepped back. Please, she whispered, just give me another chance. I'll delete everything. I'll apologize publicly. I'll never talk to Cameron again. Sophie, Cameron isn't the problem. What?
The problem is that you believed I was replaceable the moment you thought someone wealthier or more exciting showed up. He wasn't wealthier. Exactly. She froze. If Cameron had actually been rich, would you be standing here right now? She couldn't answer. That was my answer. I pressed the intercom. Rachel, please ask security to come upstairs. Sophie's eyes widened. You're seriously having me escorted out? Yes. You're unbelievable. 2 security officers appeared at the doorway. Sophie's sadness disappeared completely. You'll regret this, she snapped. Nobody is going to love you the way I did. I almost smiled. I hope not. The officers escorted her toward the elevator. Just before the doors closed, she turned. You owe me. No, I said. I don't. The doors shut. That was the last time I ever saw Sophie in person. The legal threats disappeared soon afterward. Grant Holloway stopped contacting Marcus once it became obvious there would be no settlement. Sophie deleted the original post and eventually posted a short statement saying that the situation had been more complicated than she initially understood. My company's reviews were covered. Most of the fake 1-star ratings were removed after we submitted evidence that they came from people who had never been clients. Cameron vanished from Sophie's social media entirely. A mutual acquaintance later told me he had moved to Austin and was promoting some kind of online entrepreneurship course. Apparently, his newest business taught people how to build location-independent income. I wished him luck. Sophie moved back in with her mother for a while. Then she found a job at a boutique outside Denver. I didn't celebrate any of it. Watching someone fall apart is less satisfying when you once loved them. The important part wasn't that Sophie lost the lifestyle. It was that I finally understood how much of our relationship had depended on me providing it. For months afterward, I didn't date. I worked. I traveled. I moved out of the apartment that Sophie and I had shared and bought a smaller place closer to the office. And for the first time in years, every room actually felt like mine.
About 7 months later, I met someone named Claire. Not at a networking event, not at some expensive rooftop bar. We met because I spilled coffee on her coat in a small cafe near Union Station. She laughed. I apologized about 6 times. Then I bought her another coffee. Claire worked as a physical therapist at a rehabilitation clinic. She had her own apartment, an old Subaru with nearly 140,000 miles on it, and absolutely no interest in being impressed by my company. On our first real date, we went to a small Italian restaurant. When the check arrived, I reached for it automatically. Claire reached for it too. I've got my half, she said. You don't have to. I know. She pulled out her card. I want to. That simple sentence hit me harder than it probably should have. For years, I confused generosity with love. Every time Sophie wanted something, I provided it. A better apartment, a nicer car, trips, restaurants, clothes, connections. I thought making her life easier meant I was being a good partner. Maybe part of me also enjoyed being needed.
But being needed and being loved are very different things. The moment Sophie believed she had found a better provider, our relationship suddenly became disposable. And when that replacement failed, she wanted the old arrangement restored. That was the part one could never forget. People sometimes ask whether cutting everything off immediately was revenge. It wasn't. Revenge would have meant trying to hurt her. I simply stopped financing someone who had clearly told me she no longer wanted me in her life. She asked for separation. I respected it completely. No halfway breakup. No keeping my credit card while dating someone else. No driving my Mercedes to another man's apartment. No living in a home I paid for while telling people I was the obstacle keeping her from happiness. Freedom works both ways.
Today, Claire and I live together. We split household expenses based on income. Sometimes I pay for dinner, sometimes she does. Sometimes I buy her something expensive simply because I want to. The difference is that she never expects it. Last month, we were sitting on the balcony after dinner when she asked me something. Do you ever regret what happened with Sophie? I thought about it, and I shook my head. No, not even a little. If she hadn't sent that message, I might have spent another 5 years thinking that relationship was normal. Claire smiled. So she did you a favor. I looked out over the city. I guess she did. The message that once felt like the worst thing anyone had ever sent me ended up being one of the most useful. I found someone better. At the time, she meant Cameron. She was wrong. But eventually, I did find someone better. And more importantly, I became better at understanding what a relationship should actually feel like. It shouldn't feel like sponsorship. It shouldn't feel like ownership. And it definitely shouldn't collapse the second the credit card stops working. Sometimes the best response to someone telling you they want out isn't begging them to reconsider. It's opening the door. And once they walk through it, accepting that they made their choice.